Hi, I'm Gail, AIFD, Floral Design Instructor here at Golden West College. Today I'd like to talk to you about bow making. That happens to be one of the most difficult things to do as a floral design student, but it really shouldn't be. Ribbon can add such a decorative touch to our floral designs. Bows, streamers, and loops of ribbon are added to corsages, wedding designs, even just regular floral arrangements. Bows can also dress up a potted green or blooming plant. The popularity of bows used in floral designs comes and goes with the trends, however. But this really is a skill that must be mastered. Transforming ribbon into a beautiful bow can be one of the most challenging feats for any floral design student. Knowing how to make a decorative bow is essential for all floral designers. Ribbon comes in a variety of widths. It comes in a variety of colors, fabrics, and styles of ribbon. The ribbon styles seem to change with the current industry trends, and they're just limitless. The least expensive ribbon that is commonly used is the satin acetate. This type of ribbon is available in an infinite spectrum of colors and many different widths. The most common widths are number 3, we have number 5 here, number 9, and also number 40. This really is the most cost-effective ribbon. Florists are so fortunate to have such a huge variety of other types of ribbon to choose. Fabrics can be sheer, they can be print, they can be metallic. We have seasonal fabrics. There's all kinds of types of ribbon to choose from. We are so lucky. Wired ribbon is extremely popular because it's really very, very easy to use. But when you're using wired ribbon, you want to make sure that you trim off the wire ends. So if you take that and you push the little wires up on the ends, I'm going to make a fresh cut here, and you're going to push that wire up and pull it out from the fabric itself. You want to make sure you cut these off so that no one injures themselves. So once we pull that, then we have this sort of looser end here, and there's no wire in the very end, and we don't have any injuries. So this wide range of possibilities allows a floral designer to choose a ribbon that will overall support the theme and the style of the design. The ribbon and the bow should never overpower the design, but merely act as an accent. For learning our classic florist bow, I'm going to use the number 3 satin ribbon. This satin ribbon has a finished shiny side, which I'm going to call the front or the right side of the ribbon, and then it has an unfinished dull side, and I'm going to call that the wrong side of the ribbon or the back. Whether you're left-handed or right-handed, you're going to place the ribbon end in your less dexterous hand so that your more coordinated hand will be controlling the long end of the ribbon and making the loops. Whether you are right-handed or left-handed, I happen to be right-handed, so I'm going to be holding the ribbon end. It's going to end up being my bow. I'm going to hold it in my left hand, and I'm going to make the loops with my right hand. This bow that I'm going to make may be larger and loopier than you would like, but it really is merely a lesson in the techniques of making a bow. The size and number of loops can change with each design. We can start our bow with a center loop, sometimes called a belly button. This is one way that we can hide the mechanics of the wire that will eventually secure our ribbon. Or we can merely start our bow by making a first loop. I'm going to make my bow with the center belly button, that center loop circling the ribbon around my thumb. If you're using a wider ribbon, at this point you definitely need to gather the ribbon together. I like to gather my ribbon even when I'm using a narrower ribbon like this. It's going to make the bow easier to hold and secure properly. So we have the right side of the ribbon here, and what I need to do now, you're going to notice here after making my center loop that I have the dull side of my ribbon, and I'm going to need to twist this 1/2 twist in order to get the finished side forward. Okay, so I'm going to make a loop, and again, wrong side of the ribbon here. I need to make a 1/2 twist to twist it back so that the right side of the ribbon is now forward. So I'm going to make a small loop on the top, another loop on the bottom. Each time I make a loop, I must twist the ribbon 1/2 turn to ensure that the right side or the finished side of the ribbon is forward. So I will continue to make my loops side by side. I like to make them side by side as opposed to stacking them next to each other, or excuse me, down the end. This is actually going to make a little bit more of a rounded bow. Once I get to this point, I've got 3 loops here on the top and 3 loops on the bottom, alternating top to bottom. I'm then going to bring the ribbon back behind the very first loop and start my second row of loops. This second row is going to be slightly longer than the first. So I'm going to make a twist after every loop, 4 loops on the top, 4 loops on the bottom. And holding this in our hand can sometimes be rather tricky. So we're going to make our loops, and then I'm going to cut a tail and add another piece, another segment of my ribbon here to create 3 little tails there. Now, using a number 22 gauge wire, I'm going to use a florist wire to secure the bow. The gauge of the wire that I use will vary with the use of the bow. For instance, this bow is going to go in a bud vase, so the number 22 gauge wire would be appropriate for that. If we were using it in a small basket garden, a 22 gauge wire would also be appropriate. But if this bow was for a corsage, we would need a much lighter weight wire. So we'd want to use a 26, a 28, even a 30 gauge wire. I'm going to secure the bow here by placing this wire under the loop next to my thumb, wiggle it down under my thumb, bend it, sort of a giant hairpin on each side, pull and stretch as I twist and secure that bow. Pulling the loops around, I'm now able to round it out and finish off the bow to make it exactly the way I want it to look. So the most difficult part of making this bow is keeping all that ribbon intact in your hand while you continue to add more loops. So this is the method that I use to keep all that ribbon secure in my hand. First of all, I try to make each twist in exactly the same spot. So this really involves all my fingers. If you watch the back side of the bow as I make it, you will understand my method. So as I make a loop on the bottom, so let me start out here with my belly button first and making my twist. So as I make a loop, if it's a loop on the top, I'm going to use my pointer finger here to hold that loop in position. I'm going to take my middle finger out, make a twist, and put the middle finger directly on that twist. So every twist that I make will go under my middle finger. When I make a loop on the bottom, I need to use my ring finger to hold the loop in place, my pointer finger on the top. Take out that middle finger, move it out, make the twist, and then secure that twist with my middle finger. So every time I make one of these loops, I'm going to be using really all my fingers. The bottom finger holds it in position, the middle finger moves out, the twist is made, the middle finger comes back on and secures the twist. So I have my 3 loops, top and bottom here, and I will go back, starting that second row. So again, every time I make a loop, I'm going to be using all of my fingers along the back. Now I know this seems a little bit maybe too involved, but really by dissecting this, if I want to call it finger motion here, I find that most people are able to master the art of bow making. Again, cutting my tails And we can secure this with our wire. Maybe we could use this for a bud vase here. And again, this bow that we've made is a very classic florist bow, a nice exercise in the techniques of bow making. I could use this here in my bud vase, adding that in. So this might be something that you would want for a bud vase. Let's say you didn't want a bow that was quite so large. You wanted fewer loops. Maybe you wanted a wider ribbon. So we could actually make more of the stacked type of bow, making our twists as we go along. And we could do something as simple as maybe 3 small little loops, a few tails on the end. And we could secure that with our wire. The technique is always the same. Once you understand the technique, you can make any size or shape of a bow that you would like out of any type of fabric. You can see how maybe we want something smaller like that. We'll use this wired ribbon to give us a little bit of movement here. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of practice. The more bows you make, the more confident and proficient you will become. Just keep practicing, and happy bow making.